Incense burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. All Buddha smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. There's a sutta. It is said that it does not belong to the Theravada lineage nor the Mahayana lineage. It is the Vajracchedika Sutta, and it's called the mother of all Buddhas. And this is it's really a sutta that you have to be ready for. And as I was reading it this morning, I was so very grateful because it's a teaching I have to reach into. You know what I mean? It is like nothing that I already have attained. I mean, we know when we have attained something and when we haven't. You know, they always say, fake it till you make it, but some things you can't fake. You just either have it or you don't. And to the one who has it, he knows the one who doesn't have it. So I'm so thankful that we are studying what we are studying right now, because it sets the ground for a higher attainment. We talk about the Buddha so flippantly, you know, like he's like just probably just 2 steps above us. You know, we can reach up into that at any time. But if you actually read what he has proclaimed about himself, then we know we're nowhere near the understanding. I mean, honestly, the awakening. I mean, truthfully, the overcoming stature of such a one. And so we will study for a while and we'll pick up some good things. And we like that because it's low-hanging fruit. I can reach up and I can grab that one. And in reaching up and grabbing that one, I feel a little better about myself. Like, yeah, you know, like I know the Dharma. And that's okay, because that's how children develop confidence. Children develop confidence by the sense of accomplishment that they have when they're able to do something for themselves. You see, a toddler will draw a picture, or even a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, or even a 5-year-old will draw a picture and bring it to mommy and so excited about this picture. And mommy's like, don't know what it is, you know. And then the baby is so proud, you know. And these are the images that we have when we go into spiritual practice. And we bring these worldly images and worldly views and worldly understanding into it. And because of it, we don't get very far. So I am preparing myself for what perhaps could be the greatest challenge of my life. It's not anything that doesn't come to every household. Death comes to every household. And so many times I go and I check on Panyadeepa, and he's like just barely alive, just like a corpse, you know, just you can hardly any air moving in or out. You can always touch and say, "You okay, Panyadeepa?" And you say, "I think so." That's what we say. I think so. And that's it. So I happened to pick up this sutra, and it's, as I said, it's called the mother of all sutras, and it's based on it's a commentary or teaching explanation of the prajna paramita. And it talked about how much we need the the Theravada teachings, because without them, we cannot properly apply the Mahayana teachings. I'll just separate or kind of divide Theravada teachings from Mahayana this way. Let's say if someone is building a house, they have to look for suitable ground to build that house on. So there's some engineering work that's done on the land itself to make sure that it's level, that the composition of the soil is suitable for the kind of to sustain the kind of house you want to build, and the weight, the aggregate weight of the property, that it doesn't slope in a way that would cause the elements to disturb the ground, so that later on you have the house shifting or sinking on one side, something like that. When we bought Heartwood, someone had removed the walls in the wellness center, and that used to be the dining hall of Heartwood, and the kitchen was on this side. It's a big 100-seating kitchen on this side. And to make it open so that it would be a nice dining hall, they removed the walls, and they put I had been here because I used to come here to eat some for special occasions, and they put a tree trunk Well, after I didn't notice it, but after we bought the property, I noticed that that tree trunk wasn't there. So then I called an engineer, and the 3 stories were collapsing, just ever so slightly. But the place had been vacant for almost 10 years. And in that time, the stories had dropped 1 foot. So we had to order this equipment from New Jersey to come, these pumps that were the size of a car, and we had to crank up the whole house. And then we made beams, and we put beams in there. And then we got a seal of approval from the engineer. But without it, the house would have imploded at some point. And so that had to be done. There was no need of painting and decorating, some foundational things had to be done. And Theravada is like that. It's foundational teachings that one can build upon and ultimately attain. Now, how Theravada differs from Mahayana, it's not that there was a later teaching that came about, but that some were suitable for some teachings and they weren't interested or ready for other teachings. So a teaching was given to one who was ready to receive it. Sometimes the Buddha Master will call and he'll say, he'll point out people and say, I'm going to have an assembly and I want this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, and this person to attend. Because he knows that it's something that they're ready for, where somebody else might not be ready. Now, there might be somebody there, maybe one of the nuns who helps take care of the monastery, who helps seat the people, or who's there to take care of something that Buddha Master needs, and she may hear it, but she may not understand it. So it's important to recognize that everybody is not investigating, studying the same thing. But this is where 2 things come into play. Our welfare and concern for others, even above what we desire for ourselves. And where we actually put the teachings into practice beyond our personal preferences. And that means that sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do, but we'd rather spend more time doing this because, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. But there's care for another that we must attend to. And this does not keep us from. It's a cultivation of a certain kind of patience that is rooted in our craving and in our desire. Because when you get to the end of all of this, you have to let it all go. So as I sit there and I watch Panyadeepa, I'm listening very closely to what he is saying to me. Because I'm wanting to make sure that he's comfortable. I want to make sure that he doesn't need anything. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can do to support him at this time. I want to say things that encourage him and make him not feel so utterly destabilized by his condition. So, but Pandit was not so much concerned about that. Here and there, he'll say, "What's the end game of this? Not all of this that you're trying to do for me, right here. Where do you think this is going?" You know? And I'll say to him, "Well, it's going to go the best it can on my watch." You know, that's all I'm saying. I know you're going to die. We all going to die. But I don't want to have any regrets, you know. But that's sort of like selfing, you know what I mean? That's what came to me today as I was reading this particular sutta. Because it talks about how one first builds that foundation of what they need for oneself. It's like telling the child she can go on the front porch, but stay away from the gate. Don't go down into the yard. Just stay right here close by the front door. Stay on the porch. And then later she can go all in the yard. But then later she can go outside the gate to stay on this side of the street. And later she can cross the street but don't go around the corner. I remember all of these times distinctly in my life when I was growing up at 905 Urban Street, because I went the whole time. And I remember when I could go on the porch, and I remember when I could go in the yard. Front yard, I couldn't go in the backyard. I remember when I could go outside the gate and stay and play with anybody who lived on this side of the street. And I remember when I finally was able to cross the street, you know, because I had friends over there, and you just sort of forlornly looking away because they couldn't cross the street and you couldn't cross the street. We wondered what's wrong with our parents, you know. But then I could cross the street, I couldn't go around the corner. Then I could go around the corner, and after that, my mother had to come look for me because I would like just go wherever I wanted to go. But that was a progression in learning what constitutes danger, learning what constitutes safety, developing a capacity to care for oneself and to be considerate of others. I got many whoopings, you know, for being somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, like 3 blocks away. And I got more than just one from my mother. I got one from other people's mothers on my way home to get a whooping from my mother. You could do that in those days. You know, what you do, girl? Child, what you doing up here? Did your mother know you all the way up here on 12th Street? You know, so that's how it was. But then there comes a time when that's an impediment. It keeps you from developing normally. It keeps you from making progress. And a different frame of reference is introduced. So in the beginning, we're thinking about just wanting to be released from suffering, right? Dukkha. And he says, save yourself. How can you save anyone else if you can't save yourself? So you're working really hard on this, on saving oneself, on increasing one's own joy, on focusing on what is good, becoming a good person, all of these kinds of things. And necessarily there has to be a recognition of merit, that when you do these things, the repercussion is good. And so if you're not careful, you'll do them for the goodness that comes back to you. You know, it's so subtle how it sneaks into the mind, and some feel some pride because they're good, they're pure, and they can see faults in others, and then some feel like they're gaining merit and they are entitled to all of these good things because they're good people. And both of these are a trap, but they're the trap of youth, of immature thinking. And they are a necessary phase that one goes through in developing some confidence in one's own self. And so the teacher will come and say, good job, good job. Or the teacher will compliment them and so forth. I remember I gave a retreat one time and I talked about needing to be complimented. And then right after I gave, it was a long teaching, and right after I finished that, I just started thanking everybody for every little thing they did, you know. And they're like, oh, we see what you're doing. But they got it, you know, and they stopped looking to be complimented. They stopped needing a compliment. The joy was in the doing itself, whether anybody even knew about it or not. When you go to a retreat, you know, there's a chore list and there's a couple of people assigned to something, you know, but when we come here for a retreat, there's no chore list. If we have to eat today, you best be beating feet to the kitchen to see if you can help, because that's what you do, you know, if everybody needs to eat, you know. So they don't know what to do when they get here because they're used to somebody assigning somebody to sweep the front porch, assigning somebody to take out the trash, assign, you know, who gets assigned at your house. If you see that it needs to be done, you just do that. If you know we're cooking for 40 people, we need hands in the kitchen, and I just wait to see who shows up. And it's so discombobulating for them because it's not a naturally arising sense of, I'm here, how can I help? And so we have to train in these ways so that people know it. It can feel really uncomfortable. But after a while, they get it, and it produces, rather than a confusion, it produces a freedom because we actually have the Buddha nature resident in us. And this is not a thing that you can like teach. You can't read it in the book and say, oh, I get it. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that. It's something that begins to arise in you. You find that it's there. It doesn't have to be put into you, brainwashed, but you find that you have that natural quality there. Somebody will give a chance for it to come forth. So that's when another kind of teaching needs to emerge. When we know all the do's and we know all of the don'ts, we may still do some of the do's and we still do some of the don'ts, but we at least know there's some conscience around it, that this wasn't exactly right, but like it's the best I can do right now. May I be better in the future. That's where good friends of the Dharma come along. And we think, may she be better in the future. And instead of hating on her, they have that great wish for her. May she be better in the future. Then after a while, they just even leave that. It's like, what? What'd she do? I don't see anything. That's when you know you're really getting somewhere, when you stop seeing the faults. So we go in our training from being, from our faults being pointed out very specifically, right? All the way to not seeing faults. And if we make the switch too soon, then we just become a mess. And we mess up everything around us. So the role of the Sangha is to really be present with each other. And when we see something that should be encouraged, to encourage it. When we see something that needs to be discouraged, to find the right way to discourage. Now, I'm at a place where I'm helping Panya Devi. I don't know how you can help somebody be ready to make a transition like this. It's all on them. You don't even really have a lot to do with it, except don't be cruel, right? But I want to help. And as I read this, I looked at the things that I'm doing to help him with the transition. And it's all about ensuring his physical comfort. And that which is subject to change, that which is subject to decay. And putting all of my effort in, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with physical comfort, you understand that, right? But I saw where I was not being his good Dharma friend. Because there are other things I need to be reminding him of, not what he want to watch on TV, because he can no longer like read or whatever, so he mostly like just lay in the bed all day with the TV for company, and because you think, well, because he has difficulty thinking or grasping things and holding his mind, you just put on the boob tube for him. And I said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop doing that. But I'm going to read to him things that he read for himself when he was 8. And some of it is difficult for me because I have an aversion to that conversation. But you have to know where someone is. And I sort of know where politics is. There comes a place in the second part, it's called the higher learning, where you stop thinking so much about what you will attain in this life, what you will get, who will like you, and a pride in what you know. And you start moving into a different phase. The one really wants to know what they don't know, even if it utterly uproots and destroys what they already think they know. And you have to get to that place before you can really receive the fruit of it. Otherwise, it'll be just a constant comparison to what you already know. The openness will not be there. And so the growth can't occur. Confusion sets in. And sometimes people go backwards. And every step of the way, you're getting to choose for yourself. Am I ready for this? If not, just take the part that you're ready for and hold on to that. And what you find is that there's a different kind of growth that sets in. It's a kind of maturity that you see when one is a young adult ready to leave the house and to explore themselves. And they're not afraid of what they might encounter, what they might go through. I remember when I was ready for my own apartment because I wanted to come in when I wanted to, and I just wanted to come and go when I pleased. And I wanted to have whatever company I want over my house. And I didn't want somebody telling me when it was time for my company to leave. And these kinds of things, like when you get that age, you're supposed to get your own place. And that's what I told my children. And but when I got ready for that, my mother was like, "Oh, don't go yet, don't go. You're not ready, don't go yet." And all I could think about was being independent and being free. And I got my first apartment. First thing I did was I painted the walls all black. And I didn't have any furniture, I had a couple of bean bags, and we had somebody gave me a mattress, and I went to the Goodwill and I got some plates and stuff like that, some dishes. And I was so proud of my place. It was mine. It was mine. I didn't even mind the comforts that I no longer had at my mother's house because this place was mine. And about the second month, when it's time for the rent to be due again, I'm going to visit my mom now. And I'm like, Mom, I'm running short. I need some money. And she said, well, you can always come home. I'm like, are you going to give it to me or not? I didn't want to lecture. I wanted money. Are you going to give it to me or not? And I knew how to make her feel bad, and she would give it to me. And as soon as I got it in my hand, well, gotta go, Mom, gotta go. And I was gone until the next month. And I hadn't been over all month. So Mother was glad to see me when I came. But I came with my hand out. Until one day, she cut me off. She said, either get something that you can afford, or your room is still upstairs. You're welcome to come home. And that's when I knew I had to do something else. And I chose to get a real job. And that's how one starts to become responsible for themselves. And it's the same way in spiritual practice. The things that work for you in the beginning, I tell you, they will not work for you later on. You will have to go deeper. You say, like, go big or go home. It's like that. So I was reading this sutta concerning Pranidhika, and it was talking about, we made a song called The Dharma Stays the Same. And we were just talking about that, sort of like the Dharma never loses its power. That's what we meant by that song. We didn't mean that things don't change. We know everything changes, but we meant that it never loses its power. Truth never loses its power. If you operate in it, it's 100%, there for you. And so that was sort of like what we wanted to convey in this song. And Buddha Master looked and he laughed. He said, it's okay for you for now. He said, but in 2 years, you're going to rewrite this song. And I was like, I wanted to explain, because like what I just explained about our purpose for writing song and what we meant and all that. But now I realize he did understand, He did understand. But he was dealing with us right where you were. So that's good. But you're going to rewrite it because you'll be looking at it from a different point of view, not from like a child's point of view, but from an adult's point of view. And I got hit with that this morning as I read, because it was talking about coming to that place where one lays aside all dharmas and all non-dharmas, where one lays aside all the good that they do and that which was not good. When we talk about emptiness and non-self and wanting to like float around with that crowd that abides in emptiness and sunyata, not self, no self, and non-grasping and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, we're still full of it. It's just a different level of grasping around that which is good, grasping around that knowledge that we have, that is gratifying, that's uplifting, that's, and but he talks about all dharmas and all non-dharmas, all of it. And so that puts you in a place like you don't know where. You don't know if you can't look at the good and say that's good, and you can't look at the non-good and say it is also void, it is also empty. Then what do you do? That's another whole journey. That's what I'm saying. So in this moment, when I was feeling at my lowest, feeling incompetent to truly be a friend to my friend, I was invited to take up a higher practice. And it hasn't even fully settled on me yet, but this is the joy that it brings. That at your most confusing hour, or at your darkest hour, that there is an element of truth that can utterly break every fetter, that can cut through that dukkha, that can cut through that suffering, that can cut through that darkness. And that was the assurance that I got today. And it told me to stop differentiating. And we talk about it all the time, right? But we do differentiate all the time. But now I'm going to start paying attention to the differentiations that I have and that I make. And I'm not going to look at these and call these good. Look at those and call them not good. I'm going to say all ALL dharmas are empty. That is the only way that we cross the divide. Now, this is not something you can just say. You could say it, but you'll just still, with your eyes, be differentiating. You'll still, with your ears, be differentiating. But once a seed like that is dropped in, you can count on it upsetting things for you. And it's a good kind of upset, because that's the only way we are ultimately free. So I'm going to see what this means to me over the next, months or weeks or whatever we have. We're going to see what being is taken from my eye. And as I am free, then in my presence, we can be free. So tonight, I'm going to read in a passage from this book. Every night, from this, it's actually a sutta. And every night, I'm going to read just a paragraph from this sutta. And we will talk about it. That's how we used to do. We didn't talk about what we already knew. What we already knew. No need to talk about that. We were always talking about or wondering about something we didn't know. That was the joy of the spiritual path. What do you think about this? I don't know. Should we investigate it? I think so. What do you think he meant when he said this? I don't know. And it was like so exciting to come to a conclusion about what it meant and how I could use it, something in my life. So I'm going to give you a report on what this sutta does for him. It's already working for me. And I'm going to stop going and checking to see if he's breathing, rather, I like to check to see that he's abiding in emptiness. And that was his goal with this life. And I won't feel like I have to put a smile on his face, tell him about something happening, thinking that will make him feel better, because he's looking in a different direction. If a truck doesn't hit me, I might have some time, but he's looking in a different direction. How can I truly be free? I have to go beyond the places that feel comfortable. And even as these thoughts came to me, a certain kind of, I won't say a joy, but a certain kind of relief emerged. I don't know how to describe it. Like I can just be here. I could just be here. And I needed it. I really did. Because I haven't been sleeping at night. And I don't know what to do about that. I'm never one who's had difficulty. I don't stress. If I do, it goes like this, and it's done. But things don't like get on my mind and stay on my mind, so a few weeks ago, my doctor told me he thought that I was stressing. I said, no, I don't do that. Like I just handle it. If something comes up and needs handling, I just handle it and that's done. I said, I don't stress. He said, well, you may not be mentally. He said, but your body is showing the signs of stress. I said, well, then I don't know what to do about it. But he didn't know either. He said, well, I can put you on. No, you're not putting me on anything. But then I wake up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, and about 7, I'm falling back to sleep. But it's a different kind of wake than in the past. In the past, that's when my ideas come. It's when, but this is just wake, and I didn't know what this felt like. But after last night, I said, that's it for this. This is going to get handled. And I got up and I looked for a book I had not read, and I had plenty of them. But I flipped through this book a few years ago, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I just put it down. But today, I really got it because I saw it within my being. not just an impossible thing, but I saw that I could understand it if I wanted to. And so sometimes you pick up Dharma books, and there'll be more than you can work with. Don't give them away to somebody else and say, "No, this didn't do anything for me. I didn't understand it." Just put it away. Just put it on your shelf somewhere. And every once in a while, every year or so, pull it down and take a look at it again. There's so much time for us. Not everything do we need. When we encounter that thing, that very thing that we need, what a joy it is. And it can bring you a kind of peace in your body, can bring just the truth resonating inside of you so that you know you don't have to suffer. I was thinking about, I got so many calls this past like 3 days, and people were saying how lonely they felt, how disturbed, or that the whole world's going mad, or that, and just one after another, after another, after another. And I kept telling them, well, I didn't say this is the time that you need to practice, because nobody wants to hear that, But I would say this is the time that you can rely on the Dharma. This is the time that you can rely on the Dharma when you're coming up against your greatest challenges, the ones that you think you can handle, and the ones that you don't think you can handle. The Dharma becomes a safe haven for you. It's not just a practice. It's not just a study. But it actually is a revelation of who you are, who you truly are. So if you're going through something right now, if you're experiencing loneliness, if you're uncertain about the future, if you don't know what your next move is going to be, there's some wise saying that says don't do anything, don't make a move. And that's the first thing, is to rock steady. Don't feel like you have to do anything. It's to stop, is what the Dharma tells us. Just stop. And our answers will come in the stillness. And if we're looking for them, and we're expecting them, then when they come, we can receive, even when it doesn't seem to go with what we've tried in the past, even when it doesn't seem to measure up to what we think should happen. We find that we can find that spurt of growth right there in that moment. So suffering is actually when we grow, especially if we're trying to grow out of suffering, which I definitely am. I think that there's a benefit to all of this. If not, why do it? I think that there's a benefit to it all. And I'm looking to see that right here in the land of the living. So I realized today that I am looking at Panadeepa through certain eyes that might not be a true look. I'm looking at him as losing capacity. I'm looking at him at all of these ways that we naturally look at someone that we love and that we care about. But that's just the ordinary vision. Shouldn't I have more than that? And so just before I walked out the door, and I looked at him, and he looked entirely different to me. And even if that was the last time my eyes laid eyes, you know, I could be okay. I think this also helps us. I realize how much you all have cared for us over the years. And if it wasn't you, it was people who were here before you, you know. And I actually realized how spoiled I was. That because I'm tired. You know, I'm tired. And I'm only tired because I thought I was still doing so much all of this time. And I did a lot in my early years. I could tell you that. That's for sure. But as time went on, and I was in different positions, and I didn't do as much. I just saw that it got done, you know, handled it, or paid for it, or sent people there. But I physically not doing it, you know. And I didn't realize that until now, just having to do this kind of physical care, and how out of shape I am, and how spoiled I am. And I just wanted you all to know that I really appreciate you. And everything that you do here that allows the Dharma to go forward. So I think that's all I want to say today. I can open up the floor. If anybody has anything they want to share, please feel free. Yes.
It may sound a little shallow to you all, but I encourage you, venerable teachers, to reach out and ask for help. There are things that can be done from volunteering little things. I know that have been helpful to you, but I never hear you ask, except someone forces you to ask. I'm just suggesting, with me only, I can confer with anybody in the whole world, that I encourage you to ask for help with little things. They're only little things, but it all adds up. Makes life easier for you, I think.
It does. And I will. I deeply appreciate you. And sometimes people call. I mean, I got 5 calls this morning about coming over to sit with Deepa. You know, I'm like, nobody can come over here until I clean up the room. You know, we got a gazillion books everywhere, and the clothes get washed, and nothing gets. I mean, the drawers are full. I don't know what it is. I mean, because I wear the same things. You know, and I just, you know, to just even get ready to receive guests is so hard. Um, but I have been one that did not ask for help. That's my own downfall. You're right. Um, to really, it's I love helping others, you know, and I know the joy and the beauty of it, and to think that other people don't feel that way. You know, I may not mean to be arrogant, but I think that it is a kind of, perhaps it's a kind of arrogance.
I personally don't feel comfortable if I'm just receiving and not giving something back. That's not to my benefit.
Yeah.
One way is not a good way, right?
Yeah, you're right. I'll be asking. Okay. That's a promise. Anyone else?
I have a friend who is in the process of transitioning. I knew from yesterday, I don't know if he's transitioned or not over the night. So I've been sending a lot of time in that same kind of thought. And this is a person who is an ordained unity minister, beautiful man, beautiful spouse. And so those issues have been looking with me. And coming here this morning, I don't know if he transitioned yet or not, but I just felt myself saying, bravo, bravo, for the life you've lived and for the life your wife is living, bravo.
Yeah. It's I felt like today that he was holding on, for me and holding on for others. And I was like, that is so unnecessary. I felt pain that he was struggling to hold on. He even said, I know you're tired, Punwadi. I'm getting ready to get up and put my clothes on and go do Dharma today. Yeah, that was funny. And not to think that it's all gone, That's the whole thing. It's like what at the end when I'm not so focused about what have I really attained? We better not fool ourselves. We better not fool ourselves. We better know what we have really attained. For fooling others, we will come to know for ourselves what we have attained. And there is such a peace there that not only hope I have it myself. When that time comes. Okay, so I'm sorry today was a little personal talk. But I don't want you to be shocked, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. May you be well and happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you and no danger. May you always be able to meet in and every difficulties of life.
Congratulations on your moving.
Yeah.